So today we're going to discuss about why one should consider project management role, what is needed to be an effective project manager, and what are the challenges you could see potentially once you become a project manager. As I said again, please keep it a discussion. I don't want to be just the speaker for the today. I would like to learn from you. So anytime you have any questions, so feel free to interrupt me during the discussion. I'm only on a screen, so I might. So if somebody raises hand, Gina, just feel free to interrupt me, and I'll pause for a second, and would love to answer any questions. So with that, let's get started. So I will skip the slide. Gina has done a perfect job of introducing me. So I'm a program manager at Commonwealth Financial Network. So thank you for again having me here. I'll move on to the next slide. So why project manager? So according to a report from Project Management Institute, the global economy will need more than 25 million new project professionals by 2030. That is to meet the demand of 2.3 million people that will be required each year to fill all project management oriented positions that would open by 2030. So that's a huge demand. Another statistics I was going through was the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. The employment of project management specialists is projected to grow by 7% from 2023 to 2033. This is faster than average of all occupations. There was another survey that was done by Association of Project Management, where 2/3 of the respondents confirmed that there is a project skill gap in the industry. And if the industry would benefit more if there would be more project and program manager professionals are there in their industry. So future is bright. There is a huge demand and gap that project managers, we all will fill in coming years. So I will let that sink in. So if you see like people who are kind of coming into the from a different role and thinking about the project manager, there is a huge demand for project managers across the industry. And we'll talk about industries as well where the project managers are needed. But all the statistics as of today, they say that demand is huge out there. So one advice I always give to students when they're exploring their career is that the salary cannot be the only reason for choosing a career. However, once you are a professional, it's undeniably one of the most critical factors to consider before switching careers. So financial do matters. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. So project management is financially rewarding profession. If you see the salary of a United States for a project management oriented employee, it's around $111,000, which is 78% than any other professional for a non-project management oriented employee. That's a huge gap. That's a premium of 78%. So if you are looking for a role, if you are moving from a role which is non-project management oriented and to a project management oriented role, there is a huge premium you can earn based upon where you land in terms of your role. So it's important. I think once you are in a job, the salary becomes really important when you are thinking about switching a job, like where you stand, how much you're earning, because you want to see growth in terms of your earning as well. Let's take a look at some other numbers. So again, how I want you to look at these numbers is as a figure of encouragement. You must start at a lower or a higher number depending upon where are you in your career. But project managers in general do better than many other professionals, and good project managers are always in demand. Any questions before I move any further? Okay.
I have no questions.
Okay. So what are PMs? PMs are catalysts for change and efficiency. Project managers establish transparent workflows and utilize methodologies like Agile or Lean to eliminate redundancies. By prioritizing tasks, we ensure that the team focuses on high impact activities. That is nothing but streamlining the process. Project managers foster open communication, ensure that the team members align and collaborate effectively. By managing conflicts and maintaining morale, they keep the team working at its best. So we foster team collaboration at every level of the organization. Change management. You think about change management, there are a lot of things that comes to the mind. And organization changes are complex. Project managers are at the forefront of driving those changes, be it digital transformations, new regulations, or any other changes that project management use. They use their skills to create value for the organizations. We make sure that all the changes that are happening at the organization's level, there is a streamlined adoption and there is a meaningful transition from the current state to the future state. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with the role of the project manager. So since we have established that why project management is a lucrative career option, let's move to the next phase to understand what skills are needed to become an effective project manager. There are three important categories of skill that every project manager should practice. And I would like to emphasize the word here on practice. Learning is one thing and practice is another. These are the skills that a project manager should continuously practice. We'll talk about each of these in details in subsequent slides, but I would like to emphasize the sequence here is significant. So, as you can see, I have soft skills on the top, followed by the domain skills, and then the technical skills. And soft skill is one of the most important critical requirement or skills that is needed by a project manager. So what is the reason why I'm emphasizing so much on the soft skills? So you pick any project in the world, any project that you're currently working on, any project you're working on the future. Generally, it is less about the project itself, and it's more about the people that are working on it and the people who will be affected by it. We call them stakeholders. So there are always going to be emotions involved. You need soft skill to manage those emotions, to navigate through those conversations, to basically effectively manage your project. Think about the project lifecycle. When you initiate the project, a project manager works with sponsors, they define the business case, identify stakeholders before creating a project charter. So what happened in the sequence? So project managers start working with sponsor. That means they are using their communication skills. They start defining the business case. That's basically where they are using their domain knowledge to work with the business to define the business case. And then they are identifying the stakeholders to create the project charter, which is the technical skill of a project manager. So even in the project life cycle, a project manager uses their soft skills and domain knowledge before they start even using their technical skills. So if someone asks me like, what is the right balance of skills to become an effective project manager? This is what I believe. So if you can see this diagram on the screen, so for effective PM, I have emphasized the 50% of the time, if somebody asks me like on a day-to-day basis, as I work with my stakeholders, what are the skills I'm using on a majority basis? So majority of the time, what I'm using is my soft skills. So that's why I emphasize that I put them as a 50% for to be an effective PM. Again, these numbers, 50, 25%, this could be here and there, but the point I'm trying to make is that soft skills are the majority of the skills that you will be using as you will be transitioning into a project manager role and working with your stakeholders. Domain knowledge. It's very important for you. So when two people are communicating, what is the most important thing? It's the language. If I'm talking to you and if I don't understand your language or you don't understand what language I'm speaking in, it would be very hard for you to communicate. And if you cannot communicate, you can really not plan anything around it, right? So domain knowledge is that language. So when you're working with your stakeholders, you need to have an understanding of what business is trying to do, what their goals is, what their objectives is. So to have that knowledge, once you have that knowledge, you could actually speak in the same language what business is speaking. You can understand the requirements, you can understand what they are trying to achieve. That's where your domain knowledge comes into the picture. and then followed up by the technical knowledge. So all the project manager things you're learning, all the things you do to, uh, you know, up your project managerial skills, those comes into the technical skills. But what ends up happening is that project manager focuses more on the third skills, basically, the technical skills. Uh, they will be pursuing project manager certifications or courses, which is essential. There is no doubt about that. However, what is more important to achieve is the right balance of all these skills to apply in your project. And again, I'm going to emphasize on the word not to learn these skills, to practice these skills. So, any questions before I move further from this slide? We'll talk about all these skills in detail in the next slides.
I have no further questions.
None from my side either, thank you.
Okay. So, soft skills. So, when you think about leadership and team management, generally what comes to mind is like managing people, get the work done. But leadership and team management is not just the getting the work done from your project team member, but how you align project goals with your personal goals. It's gonna be very effective if individuals working in the projects start aligning their goals with the project goals. They will have more energy, more enthusiasm, and they will be more focused and getting the project goals achieved. So how you align and negotiate with people whose personal goals may not align with your project goals. It has been my experience multiple times, like where I came across a stakeholders, especially at the start of the project, where that particular individual is not aligned with the project goals. He or she may think that it's not in the favor of their department or their team as we are starting the project. So how do you align and negotiate with these people? How you show your project team the whole picture so they're involved, so they stay motivated. Generally what happens is, as a project managers, we could just tell people like, what needs to be done. But until we give them the full picture, what the end goal and what the end results are going to look like, it will be difficult for them to aligning them with the project goals. So the big picture is pretty important. And for all that communication, so all that leaderships, that's where your leadership and team management skills comes into the picture. Other thing I talk about is like projects are long, you know. Most of the project members that you will be working with will have their day jobs. Somebody might be working in operations, somebody might be working in compliance, and suddenly somebody has told them that, you know what, you have to work on a project. So they may not be very excited about your project. You may think that the project you're working on is the most important initiative in the world, or maybe you're for your organization, but they do have their day jobs. So how do you show them the full picture so they can see, visualize the end states, so they can start aligning with your project? This is where your leadership skills comes into the picture. Your effective communications skills come in handy when you talk to these people. Another thing is, uh, how do you get the work done from people who are not reporting to you? Majority of the project managers do not have direct reportees. Even if they have direct reportees, it may not be it may not be the case when the entire project team is reporting to them. So how do you get the work done from the people who are not reporting to you on time? You are not responsible for their appraisal, so why they will follow your instructions and get the job done? How do you manage up the project resources who are way above than you in organizational hierarchy? As a project manager, I might be working with executive leaders, very senior leaders in the organizations, who are way above in the organizational hierarchy than me. So how do you get the work done from them? How do you accelerate the process to get the decisions out of them so project team keeps kept on moving? So these are all part of the leaderships and team management skills. So the question is, can you learn this skill from a book or a certification? Absolutely not. These skills You learn by practicing in and out of your project. And that's what I was emphasizing on my last slide. It's not about learning these skills, it's more about how you practice the skills in and out of your project, in your daily, outside the projects, anywhere, whenever you get an opportunity to practice them. What happens is over time, you build trust and a reputation with your stakeholders when they start considering you as a trusted partner. You become a glue that holds and drives the team forward and towards the success of the project. You achieve your final goals, but that's not possible without building actually the trust that's needed at all levels of the organizations, or all level of the organizational which are part of your project team. You will make some mistake, absolutely no doubt, but you will learn from those mistakes. You will apply next times in your next project or the next phase of your project. So think about the time management. You will manage your own time, you will plan days, weeks, months, and even the quarter ahead. However, a project manager, you'll be working on the time of your project team. There is always going to be crunch of resources, and resources includes time from those resources. As a project manager, you will have to pick up and choose where you want your team, your project sponsor, executive sponsors to focus on at any given time. What would create maximum value creation out of the project by spending that time and resources? Project team will be looking at you for direction and priority. It will be your responsibility to define the critical path so they all can march towards the success of the project. This is all part of the time management. Well, there is a good news. You can learn these skills. These are not some of the skills that person born with. So some people might have advantage because of their experience or any other reason. However, these skills can be learned, not from a book or certification. Did someone has any question? Okay. So yeah, so these skills can be learned, but not from a book or certification, but through constant application and practice. So as you're working with your teams, not really just project team, as you're working with, your peers, practice those skills, and they will improve over time, and you will learn them how to apply into projects. Any questions before I move any further? Okay. So domain or industry knowledge. So one thing what the project is all about. Project teams solve real world problems. Whether you're constructing a bridge, creating a complex financial product, or creating a Formula One race car. All of these are real world problems that project teams are trying to solve. So what is the domain knowledge? So domain or industry specific knowledge adds depth and weight to the contribution of a skillful project manager. So how to choose an industry? What are the options available? So as you can see on my screen, there are many options available out there. So I picked a snapshot from GICS. It's one of the financial market industry leaders. So how they define sectors is like energy, materials, industrials, consumer discretionary, consumer staples, healthcare, financial, information technology, communication services, utilities, and real estate. And good thing is, all of these industries or sectors, they hire project managers because they do a ton of projects. So based on your interest, you can decide which industry suits you the best. And I have a good news for those who are switching career into a project management role with some prior experience. You all have an advantage. People with prior industry experience already have a subject matter expertise. They better understand what kind of projects they would like to do, what kind of a projects they would like to manage. So you have an advantage and use it in your favor. I'll tell you a story. So recently, we opened a senior project manager role in project manager's office at Commonwealth Financial Network. We got a ton of resumes, and there was really some great candidates out there. After a lot of interviews with so many candidates, we ended up shortlisting a senior candidate with almost 20 years of experience. But when we were just about to offer the position to that particular person, somebody internally applied for the position. Since this was an internal candidate, we don't have any choice but to interview the candidate. So we didn't have any choice. So we decided, okay, you know what? Let's give it a shot, and we set up the interviews with that internal candidate as well. This candidate did not have any project management experience. She worked on various projects as individual contributor, but not as a project manager. She did not even have her PMP completed. She was working towards the PMP certification, but it was not done. She was a great communicator. We know that she has a strong. Is there a question? Okay. Yeah, so she was a great communicator. What we knew was that she definitely has been in industry for quite some time. So her domain knowledge, her industry knowledge was top notch. After interviewing with her, we ended up creating and offering a project manager position to her. So what happened there? How a candidate with no project management experience ended up with the role over a candidate who had around 20 years of experience. So when interview panel sat down to discuss, to decide to make a final decisions on the position, the question we asked ourselves is like, if she could be trained in project management and tools, and all of us valued her soft skills, her industry knowledge, and we said, you know what? Yeah, we'll give it a shot. This person could be trained in project management and tools. Her communication skills are strong. She has industry experience. We thought that, yeah, she's going to be a great candidate for this role. And she could very well grow into a senior project management role in a few years. So that is the impact of your soft skills and domain knowledge in project management. So people who are coming from a different profile, from different careers, who are thinking of dipping their toes into the project management role, please use all of that for your advantage. Don't think it of like having no project management experience kind of works out of your favor. All the knowledge you have gathered over the years working in the industry, all that's going to be very helpful in your project management role. So continue to use that, project that, display that when you're talking to interviewers, when you are kind of updating your resumes, uh, uh, continue to bring it forward as you are talking to people. Any questions on this before I move further?
I
Okay.
have no further questions.
Okay, let's move further then. So let's talk about technical skills. So now I know I have talked a lot about soft skills and domain skills, but that should not undermine the importance of technical skills that are needed for project managers. What are these technical skills? It could be project management methodologies like Agile, Waterfall, Scrum, and many others. Project managers should know what methodologies would work for their projects. Not all methodologies could work in every project, not everything could be Agile or everything could be Waterfall. Without basic understanding of these methodologies or framework, it will be difficult for project managers to come up with a plan. So it's very important that as you are you start dipping your toes into project manager role, or you are somewhere already in the project management area, that you are aware about these basic methodologies when you're going into your project. Risk management. You will be doing risk management in your project from day one. But how do you identify a risk? How do you communicate and recommend a mitigation plan when you identify a risk? When a project risk become a real issue, these are all learning basic technical project management skills. And the good thing is there are a ton of information available out there where you can learn all of this. And we'll talk about that as well. Budgeting and financial acumen. You may or may not be doing budgeting or financial modeling for your project from day one as a project manager, but it is really important that you know the basic terminologies. As you will grow in your project management career, these things become more and more important. You will take more and more responsibilities, and you'll be working with your sponsor on revenue estimates, resource estimation. You'll be doing a lot of cost benefit analysis as you will be kind of picking up new projects, a lot of discovery projects. So all of this would be needed. What is needed that at least if you are just moving into the project management role, you know all these terminologies, you understand what is expected out of you, and as you grow in your careers, you learn about them, you pick, and you start contributing to some of these functions as well. Proficiency with the tools. Modern project managers use a lot of tools as part of their day-to-day job. I do use a lot of tools as part of my job at Commonwealth, be it Microsoft Project, Jira, plan view, and there are a ton of other tools that are available that are, effectively using those tools is the key for your project success. Deep understanding of these tools will help you do your job much better. With artificial intelligence coming into the picture, there is a lot of new tools that are coming out in the market, and that's going to increase the efficiency at the project manager level too. So it's really important we keep trying different things. Sometimes there is restrictions like what tool you could use in your organization, but it's never uh, you know it's never a bad practice to try something out, and propose to your organization. Maybe that tool will become a norm at your organization. So keep an eye out. Whatever the tools you're using in your organizations, try to understand those tools in detail so you can manage your projects effectively and use those tools effectively. So what could you do to learn all these technical skills? There are a ton of good certifications available out there. I know PMI offers a ton of certifications. Association of Project Management offer a ton of certification. Institute of Project Management does a great job. If I go on their website, there are a ton of certifications or courses available that you could pick and choose for project management. And if you don't want to start from certifications, there are a ton of courses that are available on LinkedIn Learning. There are a ton of courses from various universities out there, which are available at no cost, I believe. So there are many free resources available at your disposal as well to learn some of these technical skills. I'll tell you one thing. So this is very interesting. So I have been in the industry for quite some time. I've been doing project management at Commonwealth for almost 6 years now, and I've played project manager's role before. And people used to ask me like, "Hey, have you done your PMP certification?" And I did my PMP certification last year. But reason why I did PMP certification was not for the certification. This is very interesting. The reason was not to do it was not to like the certification. So the thing is, certification was never the target. It was never part of my appraisal. I was not gonna get any extra rating or any extra salary hikes for completing the PMP certifications. So that's another story. Like once you are on a job, nobody really cares about the certifications. Of course, it helps you personally. You learn those things, you apply, and you do your projects, and that basically helps organization achieve the goals. But what organization cares is about achieving the goals that you have been assigned for the project, and project needs to achieve those goals for your organization. But I what really attracted me towards the PMP certification was like if you want to give the PMP exam or you want to do the PMP certification, there's certain education that you have to complete, certain number of hours of education that you need to go through before you can actually appear for the exam. So I did a boot camp. So it was a 4 days boot camp that I did. What bootcamp really helped me is to show that there are other ways to do the job that I'm doing right now, right? So there are other ways to do things. Maybe I'm managing my project in a certain way. What bootcamp helped me to open that view they give me another lens to look at the world differently. Like there are so many other ways to do things the way you are doing right now. It also helped me to validate some of the things that I was doing right. Like, you know what? See, this is how you're doing, and this is how it's supposed to do. So it kind of validated some of the things. Yep, that I'm moving in the right direction. It was a very productive boot camp. I didn't appear for exams even after 6 months. But one day, I thought like I have paid the fee, I have my boot camp done, so I have the minimum requirements that needs to be, I have the required experience. So why not we just appear for the exam? And I took the exam and I cleared it. I got my PMP certification and everything. But the point I'm trying to make out there is that there are so many resources out there. So start somewhere. Then you can move on to the some of the advanced certifications as you move forward in your career. But uh, start start thinking, make it as like a kind of a project. Certification could be a good milestone somewhere in the project, but you have to initiate your journey into the project management role somewhere, and there's so many resources out there. Any questions on the technical skills? Okay, all right. So far, I have painted a kind of a rosy picture of a project manager role, right? I talked about there is a huge demand, there is a gap, and we all gonna fill in. I talked about some of the great salaries that project managers are earning, but it won't be a justice if I don't talk about some of the challenges which you would see when you once you become a project manager. So I want to give you the whole picture. So as an individual contributor, you have total control on your deliverables and their timing. So if I'm an individual contributor, I know what is expected out of me at my job. I have certain time, I give it to, I get the job done and I move on. I move on to the next day. But as a project manager, you are held accountable for the overall project. You have dependency on others for your project deliverables. Your project doesn't move if others are not finishing their task. This could be a very difficult situation for some individuals as they would be switching from a role from an individual contributor to a project management role. So something to think about. Delayed ratification. It could take months or even years for certain projects to complete. So gratification is not instant. It is very important for project managers to continue to look at the large picture and celebrate milestones along the way with their team to keep themselves motivated. Since these projects are long, if you will wait to celebrate the success at the end of the project, you will not have enough motivation. So, as you achieve significant milestones in your project, celebrate with your team. Go out for a drinks and plan for a dinner party, whatever works for you. So you keep yourself motivated. So it's very important. I talked about motivating your team, but it's really important to keep motivating yourself as well, because some of these projects could span over years or decades, what I've seen. So on critical projects, it's always a good idea to bounce your ideas with other project managers, your peers, and you, even with your managers, right? Sometimes hearing yourself loud and feedback from your peers and other project managers make ton of changes. So try to create a bubble of people who supports you around you where you can uh, bounce your ideas. And again, this bubble doesn't need to have people just from the project management background. They could be industry experts, they could be subject matter experts, or individuals from industry. So it's always good to bounce your ideas. It's always good to listen some of their ideas, and then you can use them on your projects. Other thing is projects could be really complex. Tight deadlines and high expectation could lead to burnout. Project managers should have spare time for themselves so they are ready for the next day. All of us have a different game plan when it comes to how we handle pressure. So some people prefer to go to gym, some might spending time reading books, sometimes taking a quality time off with your family. So all that works. We all have our own method. So you should have your own strategy, how you deal with some of those, you know, pressure days when things are not going in your direction in your project. Constant learning and adaptation. So this is a very important one. I know it's a last bullet, but it's one of the important one. It is very important to keep and yourself updated and stay informed of the things that are happening in the industry. There could be changes in the regulatory landscape or technology changes, how these changes could affect your project or the products that you're trying to develop as part of your projects. It's very important that you stay aware about of them, because once you know about them, you can learn from them and you can adapt to those changes. You can change your project plan, or whatever needed to adapt to that situation. So if the project manager is aware of the changes, they can adjust their plan and be prepared for unexpected. There could be new project management method and tools. If there are a lot of articles that PMI publish, APM publish, even though I've seen some of the things coming out of IPM. All these organizations do a really good job bringing any new article, any new white papers that coming in the project management space. I'm not suggesting here to go through all of that, but it's good to, uh, you know, stay in touch with some of these topics that are closer to you, and read those articles or read those white papers to say what is happening in new in the project management industry. So see how you're updating your industry skills and the project management skills at the same time, so you can continue to learn and adapt as these things comes into the picture. Any questions before I move any further? Okay.
I have no questions.
So as I was preparing for this presentation, I reached out to one of the senior leaders at Commonwealth, and asking for advice for professionals out there looking for a career in project management role. And this is what he shared with me. In most roles, being the business subject matter expert is where the value lies, and you lean into the expertise to deliver your outcome. As a PM, helping to pull out right level of subject matter expertise from all your stakeholders to deliver something better than they could otherwise do on their own is where the true value lies. So John is senior vice president at Commonwealth. One interesting thing about John is John switched his more than a decade long career from being a leader of compliance and registration teams to being the leader of project management office at Commonwealth today. So there is no wrong or right time if you're thinking about moving into a project management role. Uh, you just have to uh, make up your mind and take the right steps to move into that direction. So coming back to the code, so if you are someone who brings best out of the people you're working with, then project management is the right career choice for you. I also reach out to a project manager who recently switched from operations to project management office. And I asked like, hey, if you have to give recommendations, how to move uh, from any role to a project manager management role, what are the steps or what are the things that you would recommend to that particular person? So this is what she shared with me. Proactively or based on business needs, start taking on project work. So the thing is, all the companies, all industries, they do a ton of projects. And you may be an individual contributor, you may be working with a functional group, you may be working in a team. You can always proactively try to get yourself into projects as an individual contributor. It doesn't have you may not have to start with the project management role, but you can always take projects that are happening in your industry and your company. So start taking more and more project work. Research tools and resources to help you better manage your project work successfully. So this was an interesting one, and I asked her like, what do you mean by research tools and resources? So she says like, if if I'm an individual contributor and my team is involved in a particular project, what we did is we kind of created a mini project inside our team. Even though we are individual contributor, but the work we got for our team, we handled it like a project. So we started researching tools and resources that we can use uh, to complete the work that we are supposed to do. So see how they created kind of their own project and started familiarizing with the tool. So this is a great way to learn the tool. You're not again doing a class. You are actually using those tools. It's kind of on the job training. You're using your these tools to deliver your individual results that you're supposed to give to the project team. So that's a great way to utilize tools and resources that are available inside your organization. Familiarize yourself with project management practices and start recognizing their value and start shifting your career into the PM path gradually. So as you become more and more involved in the projects, you will hear about the terms, you will hear about agile, waterfall, and there are a ton of things you will hear, but I'm just making some examples over here. So you can start familiarizing yourself, then you start reading about them, you start recognizing what do they actually mean and how does it make a difference. Then you can start shifting your career into project management career gradually. And the last but not the least is network internally and externally. So when we think about networking, it's always like, attending the conferences, meeting the people outside of your organizations. But the strongest network you have on your around is your organization. The internal network is equally important. If you are, let's say you are not currently part of the project management office or the team who manages all the projects, you might be working in a functional team. You can always network with those people, and it's easy to communicate and network with people in your organization. So I would emphasize that networking internally is equally important as externally. Because think about it, if you end up being a project manager in your organizations, all the networking you did, you will be able to use it in your projects. So start internally, and then yes, of course, you will be meeting industry experts as you will be attending conferences. You might be, there are chapter meetings that happens uh, depending upon which organizations, project manager organization you're working on. So you can go to those chapter meetings, you can meet people, and you can explore, opportunities out there. Again, how I see it, networking is like if you will go with intentions to find a job, I think networking becomes a little bit harder. I think networking should be about be real networking, try to understand the industry, and then, job opportunities and, related to PM or any other role that comes organically. So these are the recommendations from a project manager who recently joined project management office from operations. Uh, with that, I think I will open the floor for any questions and answers. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Akash. Is there any questions?
Thank you so much, Akash, for the presentation. It was really insightful.
Thank you.
Um,
We have a question, I think, in the chat box.
All right, let me take a look. Is prioritizing experience and soft skills over certification industry dependent? Well, so that's the thing I was talking about. All the skills we talked about in the presentations, it's not like you can do the project management with just two skills, right? So technical skills are equally important. As I said, you cannot undermine that. But those technical skills, I'm not saying that it has to come from certification. It could come from anywhere. As I said, it could be LinkedIn learning from, it could be coming from university courses that are available online. If you have a clear path now that you know that you really want to be in a project manager role, then I think it makes sense to just go for the certification directly, because then you don't have any doubt and you have a clear path. And with these certifications, you could actually make a case when you're applying for a new position. I also saw a comment that not all organizations think like that. They care more about the certification from the country. I live in that. I could see that. That's a fair point. So again, it also depends, what your organization expects from you. So certain times, what I've seen, in case the organization demand a particular certifications, they pay for that certification. They're happy to sponsor those certifications. So use that opportunity. If you're, I'm sure if your organization is demanding a particular certifications to move into a certain role, they will be happy to sponsor it. And if they're, offering that opportunity, I would say take it.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually all the organizations, if you apply to any job, in the requirements, they also request a PMP certification or similar to PMP certification.
Uh, Gina, can you repeat your question one more time, please?
Yeah. Can you hear me well? Or
Yeah, I
my
can hear you
connection
now.
is not very good today. Yeah, just I'm telling, it's a comment about what Imam Muki sent. It's like when you apply to any job within any organization, a project management job or a position, most of organizations ask for PMP certification or similar to a PMP certification.
That's actually right. So what I've seen is, and I can talk about my organization. So when we do post a new role out there, we never say PMP certification required. We always say PMP certification preferred, which means if you have a PMP certifications, of course it's going to catch your eye, right? It will be on your resume. But we are not just going to reject a candidate who has ton of great project management experience, but do not have PMP certification. So preferred and required, two different things, but yeah, I can see some of the organizations requiring to have the PMP certification.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Alex has a question in the chat.
So lots of PMs agree that soft skills are extremely important and being determined if the PM is for you or not. But too many singular agrees on where to start in terms of technical skills. What would be your advice on the technical skills to learn fast? So, as I said, technical skills, there are a ton of courses out there. If you have already made up your mind that you want to be a project manager, or you already have an opportunity at your doorstep where you know what, you are going to start a project manager, then I will say, yeah, pick up a certification, pick up a good certification that aligns with you, because that will kind of accelerate your technical skill learning process. Uh, because these courses, these certifications are structured in such a way, so anybody who's coming out from a non-PM background, they can pick up and go through that course, sometimes at your own pace. Sometimes if you have some deadline, you could accelerate the process as well. So if you have make up your mind, please go for the certification. There are ton out there, as I said. Pick anyone, start somewhere. But if you are still in a position where you're still thinking that project management is the right role for you or not, I will not advise you to start with the certification on the day one. I will say go through some of the courses that are available out there, be it LinkedIn Learning, university courses, or even connecting with your fellow project managers, right? You start from there, and then you can continue to apply for your positions once you get the positions. And if there is a requirement for certifications, you can definitely then pick up the certification.
Yeah. And it's not necessary to go directly to PMP, as they can start with a KPM or a CAPM or entry-level
Absolutely.
certification. Entry-level
Absolutely.
certification. Yeah.
Yeah. See, some of these advanced certifications, they expect you to have a certain project management experience. They need to have certain PDUs, even to get those certifications. So yeah, so certifications like PMP may not be right for you from if you are just starting your career. As Gina said, there are a ton of other certifications that are available that will help you to gain that technical knowledge you need. And as you will gain experience on the job in your organization on the project management, and then you can move towards some of these advanced certifications like PMP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
That is
is
wonderful.
there any
Thank you.
more questions? Yeah. Is there any more questions?
No, none from my side. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you,
Okay.
Marianne.
All right. I will thank you again, Sheena and Institute of Project Management for inviting me. It was a great sessions. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Thank you, Ivan.